All right. Welcome in, everyone. I know you're all busy, so we're going to jump right into today's deep dive.
Sounds good.
So, remember how you mentioned looking for new ways to deal with all those challenges life likes to throw at us?
Yeah.
Well, we came across this piece, and it was in, of all places, World Class Beauty Queens magazine.
Whoa, okay. Beauty queens.
I know, right? Not exactly the first place that comes to mind for, like, serious advice, is it?
No, not really.
But hear me out on this. Think about it. They've interviewed, like, over 2,500 beauty queens. And they've published, hold on, got to check my notes, 138 issues.
Wow, that's a lot.
Right. That's got to be a gold mine of insights, right? I mean, these are people who are literally trained to perform under pressure.
Okay, I'm interested. What did they have to say?
Well, their first point is about overthinking. They say it's, obviously not great. And they really emphasize writing things down.
Writing things down.
Yeah, like making lists and stuff, which I got to say, I'm already a huge fan of lists.
Me too. So did they go into more detail about that?
They did, actually. They recommend what they call a brain dump.
Brain dump.
Yeah. Basically just get everything that's swirling around in your head out onto paper. All those to-dos, worries, random thoughts, just all of it.
Interesting.
And the key, they say, is that at this stage, it doesn't have to be organized or anything. You're not trying to make sense of it yet. You're just like freeing up space.
Okay, I can see how that might be helpful.
Right. And, there's actually a cognitive science basis for this. It has to do with something called working memory.
Working memory.
Yeah. It's basically our mental RAM. And like any computer, it has limited capacity, right?
I see.
So by writing things down, we're offloading some of that burden from our working memory. It's like giving our brains a little breathing room,
So it's more than just having a to-do list then. It's a way to actually improve how our brains work.
Exactly. And they say it applies to literally anything.
Right.
Work projects, personal anxieties, whatever's taking up space in your head, just get it out.
That makes sense. If you can free up that mental space, then you can actually start to, think about solutions.
Exactly. And speaking of anxieties, the magazine also had a really interesting point about those. They basically said that AN reaction, even something tiny, is better than staying stuck.
Yeah, I can see that.
Right. So instead of like getting overwhelmed by the whole problem, you just need to take that first step.
I think there's a lot of truth to that.
And this actually ties into the whole idea of flow state. Have you ever heard of it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like being in the zone.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's that feeling of being totally absorbed in what you're doing where like time just kind of disappears.
Right.
And a lot of like high performers, athletes, musicians, they use specific routines to get into that flow state.
Oh, yeah. Like athletes have their pregame rituals, right? And musicians might do warm-up exercises or something.
Exactly. So even if it's something small, taking that action can help quiet those anxieties and just get you moving.
It's all about momentum, I guess.
Right. And that brings us to the dreaded P word, procrastination.
Oh, everyone's favorite.
Haha. Right. And we all have that one thing, right? That task we just keep putting off.
Oh, for sure.
Mine's always these piles of paperwork that just keep growing.
Paperwork is definitely a tough one.
And unsurprisingly, World Class Beauty Queens magazine recommends breaking things down.
Right.
But, as always, they had a clever little twist on it.
Oh, what was that?
They called it chunking.
Chunking.
Yep. And the advice is not just to break down the task, but to actually schedule specific short time blocks to work on each chunk.
So, like, even if it's just 15 minutes here and there.
Exactly. They say even small chunks of time can make a huge difference.
It's about, like, tricking your brain into thinking it's not as big of a deal, right?
Uh-huh. I guess so. It's all about managing our perception of the task.
Right. And then they also talked about stress and training.
Stress and training, like hitting the gym.
Well, it's partly that, but they emphasize that it's not just about physical fitness. It's about building resilience in any area of your life.
Oh, interesting. So like cross-training for your brain.
Exactly. So, learning a new language, picking up a hobby, anything that challenges you mentally.
And why is that helpful for dealing with stress?
Well, it has to do with something called neuroplasticity. It's basically the brain's ability to, rewire itself.
Rewire itself, like literally.
Yep. Learning new things actually helps build new pathways in the brain, which can make us more adaptable to stress.
So basically, the more you learn, the better you can handle whatever life throws at you.
Exactly.
Wow, that's pretty cool, actually. Okay, so we've talked about overthinking, anxieties, procrastination, stress, and training. What else?
Yes. There was also a really interesting section on journaling. They say it can be a powerful tool for, figuring out what really matters.
Journaling. I've heard of it, but honestly, I always thought it was just about, like, venting your feelings.
Well, it can be that, but the magazine goes deeper. They suggest using journaling as a way to, really get to know yourself.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, it's about self-discovery. And they even have specific journaling prompts.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, one that stood out to me was, what expectations am I putting on myself and where did they come from?
Wow, that's a good one. That really makes you think.
Right. It's not just about complaining about your day. It's about actively examining your own thoughts and patterns.
Okay, I'm convinced journaling is officially cool.
Uh-huh.
What else did they talk about?
Well, last but not least, the magazine had a really optimistic view. They basically said that every problem has a solution.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't that a little, I don't know, simplistic? I mean, some problems just don't have solutions, right?
No, it's not about denying that there are difficult situations. It's more about, I think, shifting your mindset. It's about focusing your energy on things you can influence instead of getting stuck on things you can't.
Yeah. Focus on solutions, not problems. That's a good takeaway.
Exactly.
So, wow. Okay. Let me just recap everything we've learned from beauty queens, of all people.
Right.
So, first, do a brain dump to clear your head. Then, take some kind of action, even if it's tiny. Next, break those big, scary tasks down into smaller chunks. Then, challenge yourself, learn something new, pick up a hobby, whatever.
It all works together.
Exactly. And then, try journaling. Ask yourself some tough questions and see what comes up. And finally, remember, every problem has a solution.
Well, almost every problem.
Uh-huh.
But at least focusing on solutions gives you a better chance of finding one.
That's a great point. Okay, so you've heard it here first, folks. A whole toolkit for tackling life's challenges, brought to you by Beauty Queens.
And remember, you were talking about wanting to level up and mention the listener's specific area they want to improve.
Right.
All of these tips apply there, too. So what small step will you take today to get closer to that goal?
That's a great question. I know I'm definitely inspired to go do a brain dump right now.
Go for it.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
See you next time.